technology breakthrough when we look at what's happened with silver. And still today, in the pharmacy, we use silver.
I swear to God, I'm going to give producer Ron a heart attack. It is not intentional, brother. All right, folks. I had a little mix-up. Instead of 2 to 4 Central, apparently, okay. Doc told me a long time ago, all radio is done in East Coast time. Okay? Eastern Standard Time. Simple thing. I just need to remember, I'm going to tattoo it on the inside of my hand. All right? So when I say 2 to 4, I know that I'm saying to producer Ron 2 to 4 East Coast time. East Coast time. All right. It's Tuesday. We're back. I'm late. Hey, at least I made it to the show. And I didn't forget to unmute the mic today. And thank goodness that Ron was here, because when I got the message from a beloved listener, thank you very much, that what's going on? You're not on your show. I was like, oh, I got another hour. It's okay. It's okay. There's a wonder there's a reason I stayed in the kitchen for so long. Anyway, welcome back to the Food News Pro Show. Chef Patrick Mosher here. This is the first, well, not my very first 2-hour broadcast, but the first of my regular daily 2-hour broadcasts. Starting today, we'll be going 2 hours, 2 to 4 Eastern Time, 1 to 3 Central. And well, I was doing show prep, so we'll just jump right into it. There's a lot of crazy, stupid stuff happening in the food world. And one of the craziest that I've seen is, I hesitate to even say this, because how much more stupid do they think we are as consumers? I understand the idea of novelty food products, but this is quite possibly the most ridiculous of all. There is now a Lucky Charms beer available. Lucky Charms beer. Sorry, I'm waiting for my head to explode. Okay, we didn't. And what's even worse is it has the rainbow in there. I guess that's part of it. All the colors of the rainbow and the marshmallows from Lucky Charms. And don't get me wrong, it's one of my favorite cereals as a kid. As unhealthy as it was, I loved it. Even the chemical taste in the green marshmallows, But of 2 food groups ever. So if a unicorn ate cereal and took a pee and they put it in a can, this is basically what you're drinking. I don't know. Maybe it tastes better than that, but who thinks this stuff up? And it's just called Saturday Morning. Saturday Morning all day? Is it Saturday Morning all day? I got to read this now. So the beer is called Saturday Morning IPA with marshmallows. All right, so now if they're just doing an IPA, look, IPAs, not just IPAs, the beer now that they're coming up with these crazy, bizarre, amazing, wonderful, sometimes not so wonderful flavors, I get. Yes, sir.
Sorry, brother. Just watch the time, because you'll go at the bottom at the same time.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Thank you. Hey, Ron?
Yes, sir.
Mea culpa, brother. It won't.
Oh, brother, we'll get this.
No, we got it right. Say, again, at least we have some very loyal listeners. Thanks for letting me know that happened. I really appreciate it. So, so Saturday Morning IPA with marshmallows. Now, there are some really interesting flavored beers out there. We heard about the Planters Peanuts one that they came up with up in the Chicago brewery, came up with it this last winter. There's a couple other really interesting flavors out there. A friend of mine, Steen Routh, in Chandler, out of Chandler, Arizona. I think she might be is she at Santana? I hope I'm right, Steen. But anyway, she came up with this, this great. There was one that incorporated apricot. She's done stuff with strawberries, and I mean, these are wonderful flavors. Now, I do think that depending on what the flavor profile of this is, and what was the old hashtag? Was it some magically delicious? I think this is kind of like magically ridiculous, right? Hashtag magically ridiculous. I don't know. I don't even know if I can vote on this one. So it says, Smart Mouth Brewing Company brewed up an IPA using marshmallows, just like those colorful, dehydrated chunks of sweetness you'd pick out of the Lucky Charms box. It's called Saturday Morning because that's what Saturday mornings used to be for. Rushing downstairs to at an ungodly early hour to pour yourself the first of 6 bowls of sugary cereal while watching bad cartoons on the WB. Ah, the good old days. Hey, what do you mean ungodly, terrible cartoons? I used to watch like what was it, John? Man, what were the I can't remember the cartoons I used to watch. Well, there was the Justice League. You had what was the one I used to like with Haji and Johnny? Come on, somebody's gonna help me out there. Just type it on the website. Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo is always good. I even watched Scooby-Doo when my kids were little. Until they got the really goofy, bad remakes of the third and fourth generations. You know, once Scrappy-Doo, once they got past that character, it was pretty much all downhill. Sorry. Anyway, to achieve the beer's flavor, Smart Mouth said it added toasted marshmallows and cereal marshmallows to the mash. Anyway. Unfortunately, or fortunately rather, if you want to try it, you have to go all the way to Norfolk, Virginia, and you have to go to the Smart Mouth Brewery, where they're releasing their beer on Saturday, March 2nd. It'll be available on draft at the brewery's 2 locations and in 16th-ounce cans in the city. According to Delish.com, the brewery is also hosting a series of events marking the launch of the beer, or to mark the launch of the beer, with board games, a comic book stand, and a Super Smash Brothers tournament. I think I just can't try that. Now, here they did bring up a good point. What if somebody did one that was Apple Jacks flavored? Nope. And there's my alarm to make sure I was ready to be on the air. So Apple Jacks flavored might work, right? You could do it like in Apple Jacks Amber, right? A Fruit Loops lager. My God, this is getting ridiculous. Can we just stop? Can we not, again, I'm going to say it again. Can we not gold plate any food items anymore? Can we not make everything ridiculously named unicorn? Can we just not make anything purple anymore that's food stuff? Oh, you want icing. Icing's okay. That's cool. All right, so I'm gonna have to have our buddy Mark Conway, the host of our new show, which was gonna launch today, but I'm having a hard time converting some files, so I'm gonna have to ask one of our other hosts, Andy Ace, to help me get this converted and edited. But Mark Conway's kitchen table or family meal podcast was gonna launch. I'm gonna have to have him. He's right there. I think he's in Richmond. I'm gonna have to have him run down. I know it's probably not real close for him, but Mark, if you're listening, I need you to run out and buy some of this beer and see if you can get some shipped to us. I would love to taste this on the air. Love to. All right. Okay. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure I can go on. I'm not. Ooh, here's a good story. I'm going to have to save that one. Good story on this one. Ooh, so as you all know, I like whiskey just a little. All right. Oh, we're getting short on time. What's up, Matt? We're getting a little short here. The best whiskeys in every state. Huh. So that's cool. So every state now has a distillery which distills its own whiskey. Might as well start in Washington. Why not? Start with the best of the best. Washington State, Washington Westland. They're based in Seattle, and it looks like, what is the name of this one? Garion 2016 Westland American Single Malt Whiskey. That looks pretty good. It doesn't show what style it is here. It's they're not focused on bourbon. It sets its sights on single malts. They're all quite good, mature, fine, but their number one was the Westland Peated or Gariana. Produced using single barrels made from a unique local oak tree. In 2016, Westland was acquired by French Drinks Remy Cointreau. So it's no longer the independently owned underdog. Actually, that's because Remy owns them now. I'm sure that their distilling processes can't be getting any worse. So, and Texas Balcones. Tejas Balcones. This is based in Waco, Texas, founded in 2008, and distribution is in Texas, Illinois, California, and the tri-state area. That would be like New York, New York, New Hampshire, and New Jersey. I don't know, somewhere there. Balcones was perhaps the first distillery in the world, the micro whiskey world, when the legendary Chip Tate wait, go Enterprises, Tate left under the cloud, blah, 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 blah. All right. Their whiskeys are distilled from blue heirloom corn, brimstone. Blue heirloom corn and brimstone. What is that? Brimstone. Oh, okay. So there are two unique whiskeys, which are True Blue and Brimstone. All right. So True Blue, which is distilled from blue heirloom corn, and Brimstone, which is smoked from sun-baked scrub oak. And scrub oak, I don't know if you've ever seen that. Those are like the short, bushy. They never really grew up. It's kind of like scrub oak and the small cedar trees you see up on high plains in Arizona and Colorado. But they're based on all based on Tate's recipes. And Balcones is in a world class all of its own. So they have distribution here. This is one I got to write down and try. So this is Texas Balcones. That's Balcones, by the way. Balcones. All right. I'm going to go see if I can find some of that after work because I'm sure I'm going to need a drink. Balcones. All right. So we're down to about the 1 minute, 50 second mark. We'll continue this list here in a minute. Look, I'm going to see if any of these are just too outrageous to even try because I'm so tired of people trying to push the limits with the flavor profile of beers, food, any other beverage. It's got to stop at some point. Please, I'm begging you. You know, can a steak just be a steak? Can a vegetable just be a vegetable? And can a unicorn be some mythical creature we're not trying to shove into a bottle or into a cup of coffee? Please stop. All right. So, top of the second hour, actually, bottom of the second hour, we're going to have a really interesting caller today. We have a listener who's based out of Indiana. They want to do a little segment on service. You know, finally, for once, we're going to talk about some restaurant chains and maybe some one-offs, some individuals that actually get it right. We often complain about the ones that don't get it right, but I think this will be a really fun and productive segment. Anyway, we're gonna have a caller. Ryan Ford will be calling in. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. That'll be 3:30 on the East Coast, 2:30 here in the Texas region, Central. And yeah, we got more food and fun. There's some more ridiculous food stories I'm gonna have for you here in a little bit. And if I have time, and the caller has time, I'm going to squeeze in Rob Carson, too, maybe in the bottom of the second hour as well. Rob's a new show host. He's been a comedy writer for over 20 years, political show host, but he does some really good stuff. His show launched today on Spoony, and he actually had a great first show today. It was very funny, a lot of great fun stories. So if you missed it, I'll look at the schedule and see what time he airs again. In the meantime, we're going to go to a 2-minute break. I'm going to grab a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Ciao for now. We'll see you in a second.
Dating today with all the crazies out there has to be nuts.
Yes, it really would. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a place you could go to find people who think like you do?
Like me, like libertarians and conservatives?
Right?
There is wethepeople.dating.
Amazing. What a genius idea. This is a site that you can go to if you're single and you are looking for somebody who you know you're going to think the same way, as for, you know, from a political freedom standpoint. If you want to date the right person for you, you'll find them in one place. wethepeople.dating.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American-made and serve those who serve us. Our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, and get 15% off your purchase.
Have you done it? You catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror?
I'm one of those people you don't want to see naked.
Yeah, most of us. But I mean, you look and you're going, what the?
I know.
How did I get to whatever?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. Hey there, it's Doc Thompson and Brad Staggs to tell you about a different way to shed those pounds. This is brand new tech. It's only been around for a couple of years or so. It was based on research from the University of California that said there's a molecule called OEA that's found naturally in your body. It produces it in the Mediterranean diet, that when taken in concentrated amounts, it will actually make you feel fuller and boost your metabolism.
I've lost about 10 pounds so far.
It's amazing.
It really is cool.
a company said, we can take this to market and make this great product that'll help you. It's called RiduZone, RIDU Zone.com, RIDU Zone.com. It's Brad's worked. It's worked for Brad's, worked for me, countless other people. Go to RiduZone.com and try today. You're going to love it. RiduZone.com. Remember that, RIDU Zone.com.
Good cup of Joe fixes everything. Fixes everything. Who you gonna call? Goat's butter. If you didn't see that post, it was freaking ridiculous. Someone sent me a picture. It's actually a meme that says it's got goat's butter. It's a little log of goat's butter, and above it says, "Who you gonna call?" ? You know, you gotta love food humor. You gotta love food humor. I think, yeah, you have to. All right, so I'm not sure. Looks like we're not. I don't have a video going today, which is okay. That's okay. All right, but anyway, so again, the first day that we're doing a live 2-hour show, that's all me, where I'm not covering for Doc. Oh, Jackhole Nation. We need someone to pick up the handle Doc's glass of water, because I've always got a glass of water sitting here on the table for Doc, since he had this pet peeve about not having a full glass of water in the restaurant. But back to what we were talking about, distilleries in America. So I didn't realize, I guess I should have known, but that there are, in all 50 states, there are active distilleries, either making whiskey of some sort, or all right. So I was always told whiskey's not whiskey unless it's Scotch. Most people tell me whiskey's not whiskey unless it's bourbon. You know, I guess it depends where, but technically, right? Technically, to be whiskey, it has to be Scotch, right? I believe. I'm sure somebody's going to correct me. Go to Spoony.com or Spoony Facebook page, the Spoony Radio Facebook page, and tell me whether or not that's correct, because I think it is. And if you don't think so, I'm sure you can yell at me another time, because the phone lines aren't open yet. So, ooh, Pennsylvania has a cool one. Pennsylvania has one called Dad's Hat. So this is from Bristol, Pennsylvania, founded in 2011. It's distributed in 14 hats. This is a 94 proof rye, finished in vermouth barrels. Wow. Now, vermouth is kind of one of those spirits that, or a fortified wine, I should say, that's gone by the wayside over the years. You know, vermouth. If you don't know the most popular use I can think of is when I was a kid, is you had a dry vermouth, you used it in a martini or a sweet vermouth. But, you know, the most famous saying I think was, you know, how do you like a martini dry? Well, how dry do you like it? They're like, just wave the bottle over the glass. So in other words, you didn't put any vermouth over the ice. You just simply wave the bottle over so you didn't have to pour any in. Basically, it was a chilled vodka or gin, strained and poured into the glass. The way I learned to make a martini in Japan was actually, it was a place called Manye Kawakyu, and it was a French-Japanese restaurant in the New Otani Hotel in Shinsaibashi, which is southern part of Osaka, Japan. And the way we made our martini was we poured in a little bit of vermouth. We had a nice tall, it was a wide mouth cylindrical crystal kind of decanter. It was more like a pitcher, and so we filled it about halfway with ice, and then you put in, it was about a shot of vermouth, and then you had the bartender's spoon, you know, that's a fork on one and a spoon on the other, and you rolled that around the glass, and then you strained that out. Then you poured the vodka in afterwards, and then you chilled it that way, and then you strained it into the glass. And I have to tell you, it was a pretty damn good martini, not inexpensive by any means. But okay. Back to the vermouth. So I'm curious what flavor that's going to add, because I think it depends. This must be a sweet vermouth barrels. It could be dry, but I'm thinking the sweet, just because there's more flavor there, and it's going to add a richness you're probably not going to get from the dry. But anyway, that's Pennsylvania, a Pennsylvania rye, 94 proof rye. That's called Dad's Hat, and I'll post this here on Spoonie's Facebook page in a minute. And then in Colorado, Leopold Brothers out of Denver. They have the Rocky Mountain Peach Flavored Whiskey. They've been around 1999. That's pretty good for spirits in the United States as far as the new guys are concerned. And Stranahan's, that's probably the most famous distillery up in the Rocky Mountain region, especially in Colorado. But the Leopold brothers, they've been around since '99. They were brewers from Michigan that moved to Colorado, and now they're making some, I don't want to say better, but they're making some really, they're making better, more interesting, really intriguing spirits. They have a kind of Prohibition style whiskey and a Maryland style rye, which is what this is. But the Maryland style rye. But apparently their series of, I've not had any of that. I've had their rye. I have not had their Prohibition style whiskey, but this series, this fruit based or fruit flavored whiskeys, seems to be the most interesting and now the most popular. And apparently just as good or better than the Rocky Mountain Peach is also the Rocky Mountain Blackberry, which, I really love blackberries. And so it's funny, they use a term in here that I most of my friends typically laugh at when I use it, but they say both lower proof products. So I'm guessing this is probably 80 proof. I can't tell. I'll have to look it up. But it has both of the lower proof products that use macerated and blended local fruits to sweeten and add complexity. So I use the term macerated quite a bit. It's when you take a fruit and you put it in an acid and or with sugar, and you just let it sit. And it's kind of, to me, it's like stew in its own juices, right, till it starts to break down a little bit. I typically do this if you have really nice, fresh, like really aromatic fresh berries in the summertime. Then I'll take strawberries, cut them into quarters or halves, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, something else if you can find it, maybe golden raspberries if you can find those, or whatever, black raspberries. You mix them all in a bowl with a little bit of sugar and some lemon juice. And believe it or not, the lemon juice, although it adds tartness, actually really kind of highlights the sweetness of the berries. So you stir them up a little bit, and then you put them back in the fridge, and you let them sit for like 2 or 3 hours, stirring them every once in a while. And then you use that berry mixture, that macerated berry mixture. It starts to break down a little bit. They start to soften a little, but not much, not really till the next day. But you take that, and then you serve that over a shortcake or a scone with a little fresh whipped cream or chantilly cream on there. It's really delicious. Now, if you have a bunch of that left over, say you made a bunch for a party, and you have a lot left over. So say you had a quart left or more, then you can take the same thing, add a little bit more sugar to it, put it in a saute pan, because the berries will start to break down. Say this is day 2. And you had this left after a party. It was sitting out. Nobody ate it. Now you take it and you put it into a saute pan with lots of you want as much area in the pan as possible. But if you do that, then you can kind of simmer it down till it starts to break down just a little bit, and you can add a little bit of vanilla to it, and maybe even just a touch of maple syrup, just a little bit. Like if there's a quart, maybe a half a teaspoon, just to kind of add an aromatic touch to it and bring out the enrichen the dish, make the flavor a little richer, a little deeper. Then once that's nice and hot and bubbly and it's all the sugar has melted, then you let that cool a little bit, but you serve that over just plain vanilla or French vanilla ice cream. It's absolutely one of my favorite desserts. The richness of the berries, the sugar, there's a tiny bit of acid in there from the lemon juice, and then you have the added maple syrup. That man, over the top of the vanilla ice cream it's super simple. It's one of my best. And if you have some shortbread cookies you want to break up in there, or something like a pound cake, that might not suck. Let's see, West Virginia. Yeah, okay. Ooh, Vermont Whistle Pig. So if you have not had Whistle Pig, it's actually one of my favorites. They have a great rye, and they have the Boss Hog is one of them. Old World, they're a little higher priced, a little more expensive. But this new one called Shoreham, Shoreham, right? Shoreham. This is and they have another one called Farm Stock, but Shoreham looks really good. Farm Stock is really neat. They have what they call a triple terroir, so 3 earth or 3 different. It's a triple blend, right? It's a triple blend of terroir. So that actually means the earth where something is grown. And what they do is they use it using Vermont water, rye grains, and then barrels made from local oak. So the mix of those three distinct aromas, flavors, chemical reactions in the whiskey apparently is giving them something really unique, and that's their new farm stock by Whistle Pig. Now, they call it farm to bottle instead of farm to table, which I think is kind of an interesting play. But the founder, Raj Bhakta, he's a former Maker's Mark master distiller. So if you want to try something, which although they've only been around since 2008, it's really they really have a quality product, and I think it's something that's really enjoyable. So check them out. Again, that's city is Shoreham. That's why. So Vermont. It's from Vermont. It's Whistle Pig, and Raj Bhakta, the founder, is an amazing distiller. He's been around a while. So next, the best of the rest. Okay, so those are the top 10. I didn't go through all of them, but those are some of the best. Let's see what they have. Alabama. I'm not worried about Alabama. Alaska. Oh, Alaska. What does Alaska has from Wasilla? They have this is the northernmost whiskey maker, right? Alaska Distillery, and they have it's located in Sarah Palin's hometown, so you can go up there and love on them or hate on them. It makes Alaska Outlaw whiskey, as well as smoked salmon vodka. I don't know if you heard that. I just vomited in my mouth a little bit. Okay, I just said stop with the ridiculous food and beverage ideas. Smoked salmon vodka. I'm trying to picture if this is something that they put a piece of smoked salmon in the bottle and then pour the liqueur in and flavor it, much like, I guess, is it somewhere in Southeast Asia? I'm not sure if it's Vietnam or in that region they have that really high proof spirits. It's kind of like Everclear with the Cobra in the bottle. And man, that stuff stinks. You can smell that stuff through the bottle with the cap on, unopened. Even sealed since purchase, it smells really bad. So I'm just thinking, okay, so I'm looking at their Alaska, their Outlaw whiskey, the original whiskey. Okay, they have a wax seal on that, so maybe the salmon smell doesn't come through. I'm just not sure. What is the purpose behind a smoked salmon vodka? Now I could see chasing a smoked salmon, little hors d'oeuvre with a shot of vodka. That's fine. That works for me. Anyway, I'm just not sure. I just don't. Where the hell is this all going? Where is this going to lead? Arizona, one of my former, states of residence. Oh, Del Bawu. Oh, yeah. So this is Whiskey Del Bac is the distiller. They have, they're based in Tucson, by the way. They have Dorado. Okay, and this is made with mesquite smoked malts. It's like, ooh. Now, this sounds interesting. It says, quote, it's like drinking a bag of barbecue Lays. Well, they need to put with a kick in there because I don't think it's the same if the whiskey's not in there. But that's Del Bac's Dorado with mesquite smoked malts. Now, if you've never used mesquite to cook with, I love mesquite. But there are two things about mesquite. If you're using the actual wood, mesquite is extremely hot burning, really hot, and it's really acidic. So if you're using it to grill with, it can put a really acidic, pungent flavor to whatever meat you're grilling. So a better choice is to use like mesquite charcoal, what we call coke. It's a high pressure, not that coke, guys. Come on. I'm a chef, but I'm not stupid, and I'm all right. I've been out of the game a little while, and I'm not young anymore. So, but coke it's basically it's pressurized charcoal. And the thing that's unique about that is they use larger pieces that are the natural shape of the wood, and then they burn it under high pressure so that now you have this great charcoal product on the other side of that is fantastic. Again, two things to remember is that particular product burns extremely hot. So unless you're I mean, you have to pay attention on the grill all the time. And it imparts in acidity. It's almost it has this kind of, the ash almost sticks like it has petroleum in it, right? So it's better. I like to mix it in with regular charcoal. I love charcoal briquettes, or the other, like charcoal made from oak or other woods, but I like charcoal briquettes because it's a nice neutral mix. But I like to add the smoke, the aroma, the flavor to some extent of woods and or other charcoals. So if you use 80% of your standard base charcoal, and then you put 20% of this in, and or wood chips or other just wood logs, it works out pretty well. I got to try that. So Whiskey Del Bac, and that is their Dorado out of Tucson, Arizona. Arkansas. You know, I also lived in Arkansas. Geez, I'm trying to think of the states I haven't lived in. This is based out of Little Rock. There's Arkansas Rocktown. Rocktown is a distillery. Rocktown uses 100% Arkansas ingredients for products like its hickory smoked whiskey and single barrel bourbon. I got to try me some single barrel bourbon. That sounds really good. And then hickory smoked whiskey. So I'm wondering if that's if they hickory smoke the barrel and then they age it in that, or if they're actually trying to smoke the whiskey. But I'll have to check that out and see how they do that. Sounds interesting. Connecticut. They're bottling theirs at 8 years of age. So in Connecticut, there's the Litchfield Distillery based in Litchfield, and that's a little spot up in northwest Connecticut. But they have a farm to bottle. It's called Batcher's Bourbon. That's currently being bottled at 8 years of age, which is pretty old for a micro distillery. I think typically takes about 3 years for you to get your first bottle or your first batch in a bottle. That's really quick. I mean that's an extended period of time for a business that's only been around since 2014. Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't start trying to distill before that, right? Okay, I want to. It was founded in 2014, which meant they may not have been fully licensed as a distillery. How are they bottling an 8-year-old juice right now if it's only 2019? Because that's barely 5 years. That's if they started in January of 2014. All right, I got to call and get some logistics on that one. It doesn't make any sense. Dogfish Head, if you don't know them for their beer, they now, in Delaware, they have whiskey. Huh, who'd have thought? They're based in Milton, Delaware. And Dogfish Head Ale, they have a lot of good. Dogfish Head actually some good beers. But interesting, they have one called Alternate Takes. It's a recently released experimental whiskey made of applewood smoked barley and finished in rum cask. Okay, now this is a mixture I could do. All right, this is one that's not too far fetched. They didn't go too far because they used some real traditional techniques to add flavor and impart a uniqueness to this beverage. So again, it's applewood smoked barley, and then it's finished in rum casks. That makes perfect sense. I've had some rum finished bourbons, stuff that's bourbon that's been aged in oak casks, a rum cask, and it's excellent. So this is one I'm going to have to try. Dogfish Head. They're an iconic brewery. They've been around for a long time, and they've done a really good job. So this is one to watch out for. Delaware's Dogfish Head Alternate Takes. Sounds good. All right, District of Columbia. Let's see what those folks up there running our country have for us. They have a white whiskey. There's a white whiskey. This is the District of Columbia 1-8. 1-8. So Joseph A. Magnus crafted one of the buzziest whiskeys in the business today, but unfortunately its Armagnac finished cigar blend is All right. So apparently one of the better ones that they've come up with, right? This the District of Columbia distillery, all right, based in Washington, D.C., by the way. They have a very expensive Armagnac finished cigar blend, right? And I'm sure it's very expensive. So 1-8 Distilling's Rock Creek whiskey is literally the only DC distilled whiskey currently on the market. Oh, wow. So, okay, so Joseph Magnus, that's a different distillery. That is a different distillery. But 1-8 Distilling came up with the Rock Creek whiskey. This is a white whiskey, folks. Wow, it's beautiful. So if you're not watching, I can't show you, but this is a 40% by volume. This has a really beautiful, simple, clear bottle with a very thick bottom. It's a standard. Wow, this is a classy looking bottle. Matter of fact, I'm going to post this particular picture alone by itself. It's worth the look. So Rock Creek's White Whiskey. That looks really good. They were founded in 2015 in DC. One of the things Dr. Stephen Hollingshead, one of my mentors that I met in Houston in 2001. He and I thought about doing a distillery in Virginia, and I'm trying to think exactly where it is. There's a place just in Virginia, just outside of D.C., that's very historical, and there was a big wedding facility there that also had, I want to say there was a B&B and some other facets to it, but we were going to do a restaurant and then turn this events facility into a distillery, but still run the events facility as well. The issue here was that in Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, they own all of the spirits. So what happens is you distill it, but then it all gets, the state owns it. It all gets sold to the state. And then so it becomes very expensive. It's a stupidly expensive process. And it's unfortunate because we had a really good idea. I think we could have done well with that. So, Stephen, if you want to pick another state, I'll go to town and we'll finish that one up. No more half-baked ideas here. None whatsoever, I promise. Thank God for coffee. In Florida, St. Augustine. Yes, sir.
Is it decaffeinated?
Hell no.
About time.
I know.
Welcome to the dark side, my friend.
I know. So when I start sweating and run around the room like a coked out addict,
I won't be here.
You'll be like, hey, let me gun this down real quick. You will be.
Yeah, I will not be here. You run around all you want. If it's naked,
it used to make my heart beat funny because I'm serious. I would in college. I would chase no-dos with coffee.
Did you just say no-dos?
Oh yeah, dude.
You better explain what that is.
Okay, so for you young folk out there that don't know,
yeah, nobody knows what no-dos are.
Oh,
I
do. Oh, I know. Well, there was also, what was the other one? There was no-dos, and there was another one too. I'll think, and the other one was actually higher in caffeine content. These were straight caffeine tablets. Straight caffeine tablets.
No-dos. I lived on. Yeah, I mean, what college student in the 90s didn't take no-dos?
Oh, or the 80s.
Little caffeine pills.
I'd take 2 or 3, pop them in my mouth. Grab a cup of coffee, swish it around, swallow it up, and then drink 2 more pots of coffee. And I wonder why I thought I had a heart attack.
So you were taking those little things like you were taking Tic Tacs.
Pretty much. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I studied in college via the theory of osmosis. Right. So I would basically study until I couldn't stay awake anymore. So 2, 3 in the morning, fall asleep on the books, on the pages open, as many of them open as possible, with fingers stuck between the pages on my face, stuck on one really important page, hoping that by the grace of God and the power of Greystone, He-Man, right? He-Man?
Yeah, He-Man.
You got that, right?
You got all the
references. But that information would somehow, through the power of osmosis, transfer into my brain, and I would get an A on the test. Never happened. Well, it never happened studying that way. So, I had to change my ways eventually. First semester went pretty poorly, I'll admit. Got a little better after that. Got a little better.
Hope your kids aren't listening.
Oh, my kids are smart. They're smart. Thank God. All right. In Georgia. All right, we did Georgia and Hawaii. We're going to get off this whiskey. I'm not feeling it. I'm not drinking whiskey, so I can't. I'm not feeling it. I'm going to have to have a little nip for the second half of this show just to get in the mood. But Georgia's 13th colony, based out of Americus. Is it Americus? Americus, Georgia? Americus.
Sounds right.
Americus. Despite draconian alcohol laws in its state, 13th colony managed to produce a 4-year aged Southern bourbon and a Southern rye finished in French oak spirals. That sounds pretty damn good. Nice looking bottle, kind of classic. Big, bright yellow label. I'm going to try that. So Georgia's 13th colony. All right, we got to do Hawaii, just because who the hell would have thought they're making whiskey in Hawaii? But Hawaii does a lot of really great stuff. So in Hawaii, they have the Alawai. Alawai, I want to say it's Hawaii Distillery. Alawai is the actual brand, or the actual spirit. Yes, it is. So Hawaii Moonshine was the closest thing to whiskey in Aloha, like up till 4, 5, 6 years ago, and about 10 years ago. But luckily, the Hawaii distillery, which is an extremely small batch distillery, they started using a huge variety of atypical yeast strains, and then hyper aging their product for a year, and they produced what's called Alawai single malt and Alawai corn whiskeys. But I'd try that. So I love single malt. I don't know. We got Scotch. I haven't had Scotch in a while. I've been drinking all this whiskey people bring us. I'm sure they must have bought a single Scotch over there, single malt. I'm going to have me a little bit of that for the other half of the show. So speaking of Hawaii, I need to get a friend of mine on this show. His name is Miles Uehara, or Lee Allen. Lee Allen moved back to Hawaii after having a, let's just say, the pressures of the restaurant industry, and quite possibly, Lee, I love you to death, but the worst diet I've ever seen any human eat. Not always. He ate healthy sometimes. But Lee Allen was one of my mentors when I moved to Denver, and he helped refine my sushi skills. He had a guy named Wayne Conwell. We'll talk about Wayne another time. But Miles and Lee came from Hawaii for the opening of a restaurant called Tommy Tsunami's Pacific Rim Diner. And we all worked together there. Miles, who we call Hangman, that's another story another time. Miles, I got really good at sushi. I became very good. I was able to work for Nobu for a number of years, and I was really graced and really blessed to have that opportunity. But Miles has a great little place in northern San Diego County. I think he's still in San Diego County, up near. I have to look it up. Miles, I think it's Kappa Sushi, right? Kappa Sushi San Diego. Oh, yeah, there it is. All right, so Miles Uehara, this is Kappa Sushi. It's in Hibbert Street in San Diego, which is it's up off the Escondido Freeway, right? So up a little north of Scripps Ranch. It's right near Miramar. Miles is a badass. Miles has surpassed my culinary prowess in sushi and sashimi. And Miles, man, I got to have you on the show because we could talk some real fun and food. Miles is about as Hawaiian as they get in a good way. His family actually founded and still runs the Aloha Tofu Factory, which is the largest tofu factory in Hawaii. They're based in Pearl City, right there near Honolulu. And if you go to his site, just go to I think it's Kappa Sushi, Kappa, KAPPA -SD.com, right? Kappa means cucumber, but cutie. Kappa means there's a little have you ever seen the Ninja Turtles? All right. So if you watch the second one, they go to Japan. I think it's the second one. And in that movie, when they're upright walking turtles, everybody goes, Kappa. It's ancient Japan. Well, a Kappa is a legendary turtle-looking creature that steals children if you don't allow them to go into your garden and eat your vegetables. They love cucumbers, and hence, since they love cucumbers so much, Kappa has become synonymous as cucumber. So when you get a cucumber roll in a Japanese restaurant, it's called a Kappa roll, Kappa. There's nothing in it but rice, cucumbers, wasabi. That's it, Kappa roll. So there's your Japanese historical food lesson. Miles Uehara, get your ass on the show. Call my number. You still have it. You can email me, chefpatrick@spoony.com. info@spoony.com. You know my personal email address. You know how to find me. All right. We got 30 seconds left till the top of the hour. Stay tuned. We're going to have a couple callers calling in. This should be a really interesting show. I'm really looking forward to the bottom half of the hour. One of our listeners, Ryan Ford's going to call in. We're going to have a real fun time talking about service versus hospitality. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick 4-minute break. I'm going to gun this coffee, go back and get another cup, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Ciao for now.
This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. American consumers were feeling more confident this month. That's after a rally in the stock market and an end to the partial shutdown of the federal government.
The conference board says its consumer confidence index rose to 131.4 from 121.7 in January. The index had dropped in January amid worries about a government shutdown that ended January 25th and stock market volatility, which reflected higher interest rates and worries about trade tensions with China. But stocks have rebounded since Christmas, and U.S. and Chinese trade negotiators have reported signs of progress toward ending a standoff.
Correspondent Jeremy House reporting President Trump is in Hanoi now, where he will stay at the hotel during his nuclear summit with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy says today's expected vote by Democrats to block the president's declaration of a national emergency puts politics above national security.
They just now want to oppose something because President Trump supports it.
McCarthy says even though today's vote is expected to pass, it will prove that Democrats don't have the votes to overturn a presidential veto. Also on townhall.com, the White House seeking to discredit the president's former personal lawyer as he makes a series of appearances on Capitol Hill this week.
With Cohen meeting with lawmakers for 3 days, White House spokeswoman Sarah Sanders issued a statement emphasizing that the president's former lawyer was going to prison for lying to Congress and making other false statements. Sanders says it's laughable that anyone would take a convicted liar like Cohen at his word and pathetic to see him given yet another opportunity to spread his lies. Cohen is set to serve time in prison for lying to the House and Senate Intelligence Committees back in 2017. Greg Clugston, the White House.
On Wall Street, Dow is up 7 points. The NASDAQ is down 3 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
It looks like you're losing.
I am.
Are you losing weight?
I am losing. I've lost about 10 pounds.
How are you doing it?
It's a funny name, but I've done it with Riduzone, RIDUzone.com, and the stuff works. It's, you get into all that, the molecule this and the found in that. All I can tell you is it makes you feel full, and it keeps your mind off of wanting to overeat.
And also boosts your metabolism, so you're burning more.
Yeah,
Try it today. It's going to work for you like it's worked for Brad and countless other people. Riduzone.com. RIDUzone.com.
Never Forgotten Apparel is more than just a premium women's and men's clothing line. It's a movement to remind us to wear American made and serve those who serve us, our heroes. Never Forgotten Apparel gives 20% of their total sales to nonprofits that support homeless veterans and off-duty firefighters, and 50% to individual veterans and firefighters in need nationwide. Check out neverforgottenapparel.com, use promo code DOC, and get 15% off your purchase. That's neverforgottenapparel.com.
Have you done it? You catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror?
I'm one of those people you don't want to see naked.
Yeah, most of us. But I mean, you look and you're going, what the?
I know.
How did I get to whatever?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. Hey there, it's Doc Thompson and Brad Staggs to tell you about a different way to shed those pounds. This is brand new tech. It's only been around for a couple of years or so. It was based on research from the University of California that said there's a molecule called OEA that's found naturally in your body. It produces it in the Mediterranean diet, that when taken in concentrated amounts, it will actually make you feel fuller and boost your metabolism.
I've lost about 10 pounds so far.
It's amazing.
It really is cool.
A company said, we can take this to market and make this great product that'll help you. It's called Riduzone, RIDUzone.com, RIDUzone.com. It's Brad's worked. It's worked for Brad's, worked for me, countless other people. Go to Riduzone.com and try today. You're going to love it. Riduzone.com. Remember that, RIDUzone.com.
Yeah, that's Riduzone. Man, that stuff works. I'll tell you what, it will rid you of something. Riduzone. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, we are back. Second hour of the Food Biz Pro Show. I'm Chef Patrick Mosher. A little rough start today. I may have forgotten to get in the damn studio until like 15 minutes after we launched, so forgive me on that. And to all my friends, family, Facebook friends and family, I did not share the Facebook video to my page today, my personal page. So I know.
I shared it to the cartel for you.
Oh, well, that's because you're a badass, you know.
Thank you.
Not all of us can be that good, Matlock. Not all of us can be that good. All right.
I'm there for you.
You know what? Actually, a lot of people are there for me, and I want to thank all the Spoony listeners. I really do. We've had an outpouring of love since the loss of Doc, and even prior to that. You know, we're a startup company. with a great vision. A lot of fun is what we have here. We're getting lined out to where we have a lot more professional fun than just goofing around fun. But I'm telling you, Ron, Matt, Beth, Brad, myself, Tom, Doc, we've all worked our butts off to make this happen. And we have some great new hosts coming on board. You've heard a couple of them. We've had a couple of great conversations with them. We had Andy Ace on the phone yesterday. We have Rob Carson launched today. As a matter of fact, I'm hoping to get him on at the end of this hour. He is actually having an emergency dental procedure happen right now. So if he gets done before the end of this hour, because I was thinking I start at my regular show time and extend an hour instead of the pre-agreed upon start an hour early and end at the same time. We will make this work. All right. So I need to share this real quick, but if anybody's listening that knows Miles Uehara, Miles, call me. Give me a ring. Actually, I'll send him a text after the show. But Miles would be really fun to get on. And I really need to go out and cut some fish with Miles. Miles has got some mad skills, man. Miles, as well as Lee Allen. I wish you were still in the United States. Lee was the original executive sushi chef up at a place called Tommy Tsunami's in Denver. And he was a culinary instructor in Hawaii prior to that, and a culinary competitor as well. And he actually coached the culinary competition team at the school there. Miles was one of his students. There's another guy named Jay. I think Jay was the first to go back to Hawaii, but Jay did pretty good. Well, Miles stuck it out for many years in Denver. He went back to Hawaii, came back to work for me in San Diego. Lee moved on and did his own thing up in Denver, had several restaurants, and really put his mark on the sushi world in Denver for a long time. But, all right, so I'm going to share this real quick. I'm going to share on my timeline, blah, blah, blah. All right, I don't need to say anything. I'm back, blah, blah, blah. You all know I'm here. Hey, it's a party now that it's on my page. It's a real party. Time to watch, time to follow, and it's about time. I've wasted enough time. I finally got my caller here. Ryan Ford, is that you, Mr. Ryan Ford?
Hey, Chef. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Hey, thanks for calling in about half an hour early for me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
Hey, I need somebody to save my ass today. That's all I can tell you. Matt's been trying. He couldn't do it. Ron tried. He couldn't do it. Now we got to have one. I got to put you in the line of fire. My apologies. No, man. Thank you for calling in. So I want to let
I do what I can.
So I want to let the listeners in on kind of how we met, and okay. So I mean, I know you've followed our show for a while. I mean, were you an original listener of Doc's? Is that how you followed that found us, or did you just find Spoony by accident?
I found you guys through Doc. I started listening to Doc probably 3.5 years ago.
Okay, so at the time he and I met,
and
as well.
then when the transition all took place, I kind of lost him, and then it's like, wait a second, I just found him again.
Nice. Well, we appreciate you being here.
Found this last summer, so
yeah,
of course.
Well, it's really nice that you've stayed with us this entire time, because I know, we've had some ups and downs, and today, okay, I'm kind of laughing because it's almost comical that it went live on Facebook today. The video went live, and it was just no one sitting in the chair, no audio, and just a picture of this still picture of the Spoony studio, which is fantastic, by the way. We have this beautiful view out the window, the diner window here of the highway out towards that. I think one direction goes to Tucumcari, one goes to Amarillo, probably. But anyway, so we met. You sent me you sent us a very nice email, and you said, hey, it'd be great to do a segment on hospitality, right? And on the companies that actually are doing it right. And I thought,
yes.
that's a really, really cool thing to say, because we often call out those companies that don't do it right. Yeah. I mean, look, and I call out, I'm not going to call.
And it kind of goes to, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And it kind of goes back to when we gossip, if we don't like something, we're going to tell 10 times as many people than if we truly enjoy something as well.
Absolutely. And I mean, but what I don't gossip, dude. Come on. I try not to. I really do. People ask me all the time, are you critical of all the food you eat? Do you go out and critique everything? And I really try not to. I have some internal monologue, and I'll make mental notes, but I really try not to do that. I mean, I don't think it's fair to the I don't think it's fair to the proprietor for me to do that at every meal. Now, if it's a special occasion, if it's an expensive meal, or if it's something that's been, uber hyped, then I do that. But I rarely publicly comment on anything like that. So, all right. So back to what we're asking. So you wanted to do this segment, and I know you have a history of, so we share something. I, too, at one time worked at that pioneer of establishments called McDonald's. And and what's interesting is people knock it, but they have some of the best systems in place. And if you want to learn how to be a very systematic manager of a restaurant and what systems to have, that's one of the places to start.
Yeah, I was very shocked when I went to work for them with how much they did have compared to other establishments that I'd worked at beforehand.
And so what other places did you work before McDonald's?
I actually started with Wendy's when I was in high school, and then went to Taco Bell, Bob Evans. I kind of worked around the system, so to speak, and all the stereotypical fast food places.
Mm-hmm.
And then wound up going into management in some of them. And then by the time today rolls around, I had destroyed my back, so I couldn't stand and do it anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, you'd said, I know you have some bad arthritis that unfortunately forced you to leave the industry. But up until that point, I mean, we'll get to Culver's in a minute because we both have a fondness for them that it supersedes it supersedes your employment there, and it exceeds any love that just being an employee would give you for that chain, right? So, so were there any positive things? What were some of the good points of, one or two of the establishment? Was Bob Evans, I mean, was that, because I always enjoyed Bob Evans. Was that a good place to work? Did they have an enjoyable atmosphere? Were there any key points that you took away from that experience there?
I learned a lot of time management there, more so than I think than any other establishment, because of their seating capacity blew everybody else out of the water. The one that I worked at, I think, was 150 seats.
That's all?
Quite big.
Yeah, I'm joking. Yeah.
Well,
that's a pretty
compared to McDonald's.
No, that's a pretty big, when you think about it, that's a pretty big sized restaurant by most standards, especially back in the day.
And when I first started, they had me as a host and dish tank. So I would have to quickly get the entire restaurant flipped around. It was usually myself and one other coworker hustling to get it all done. So it really taught me how to manage my time wisely in a work setting.
So you remember the Gong Show? Obviously, remember the Gong Show a long time ago. Do you remember? So it was. I don't know if you're.
I think that was before my time.
Okay, so it was this.
Yeah, I may not be old enough.
It was funny. I wasn't old enough to understand the question at the time and why it tripped somebody up and why they were found out as this fraud on the show. But basically, maybe it wasn't the Gong Show. One of those shows. I think it was though. They had two people up there, and they would say, or three people. They were supposed to be a server, right? And they would tell about their job. And so the panel, it was like Soupy Sales and these other crazy characters from the 70s and early 80s. They would get to ask questions about, okay, so tell me about your job. What about this? It wasn't tell me about your job, very specific questions. And one of them was, well, do you do side work? And the lady says, oh, no, I don't do side work. I just work in the restaurant. And so I didn't understand it at the time, but she apparently, as an actress in that era, had worked in restaurants. And so she knew that was a trigger question if you didn't know what the term side work meant. And so later on, as I became, I was going to say ingrained in, but swallowed up by the restaurant industry, consumed by, and I also was consumed by working in this industry. I learned what side work was. And I was like, something from like 15 years before in my youth or 20 years prior popped into my head thinking, that's how they figured out that she wasn't the one that was a server. For some reason, every time I hear side work, that stupid little story sticks in my mind. But there are those terms, there's those things like you said, fishbowl, right? A lot of people don't know what that means. So what does that mean? Being in the fishbowl, you and another person being stuck in the fishbowl.
So we were the only two doing that job. That everybody would rely on us to keep the dining room orderly.
Which is a large task.
So very, very large task that it gave us. So by the end of the night, my coworker and I, we would usually just kind of lean up against the wall and be like, "Oh, we get 5 seconds," and then we run back out and do it all over again.
So let's move on to Culver's. Look, Culver's is one of the companies that does it right. All right.
Yes.
So again, you and I had a really, really interesting conversation about the difference between service and hospitality, right? So, I mean,
yes.
Service to me is look, anytime that you are in need or in want of something, then a service can be provided to you. It's basically the fulfillment of a need or a want, and that's it. An ATM can serve you money. You put your card in, you punch the numbers, and it gives you money. That's a service, right?
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, a valet, a person taking your keys, parking your car, that can be a service as well. It could also be hospitality, though, in certain circumstances. When you have this human element involved, then taking service to the next level, I believe that's hospitality. Is there
something that you don't forget?
Correct. So, yeah, hospitality is basically the action of giving service. Okay, that sounded bad, but the act of giving service in a way that
ding, ding, ding.
Exactly. Yeah. So, it's so funny. Doc has trained everybody that I know that ever listened to Doc has been trained like Pavlov's dog, that anytime there's any sexual innuendo or double entendre, everybody rings the bell, at least mentally. But most people ring it out loud when there's no bell. It's hilarious. Everybody told me I need an egg timer in here to ring the bell. I probably should do that. But yeah, so in your experience, how does Culver's take that guest experience, that what could be simple service, and take it to the next level, which is hospitality?
Well, the best thing that I can do is compare it to, let's go back to McDonald's, for example. When I was working with McDonald's in the restaurant, if I was up front, customers would come in to order. They wouldn't get a hello or anything from the employees. It would usually be the employees saying to in the dining room, telling the cooks and the French fry staff that they need to start making more food.
So that's funny, because
the biggest thing that stuck out to me.
Yeah. So you were real quick. You were far enough back in the day that you actually spoke back to the kitchen, because they don't do that anymore. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that was same time.
We would be shouting back and forth.
Yeah. Same for me. Okay. So I'm carrying on. I'm sorry.
No, you're quite all right. But and I actually just took my 2 older children to Culver's over this last weekend. And what really stuck out to me, and it's one of those things, like I said, hospitality is something that you don't forget. Before I could take my 4th step through the door, I had one of the managers greeting me with a smile saying, "Welcome to Culver's."
See, that's
it really looked genuine. Not like, okay, you're trained to say it. No, it's like, hey, we're excited to have you here.
I've always gotten that experience from Culver's, and there's the other chain. There are some others as well, like Houston's. I think Houston's does a great job. Hillstone Group, Houston's Corporation. They have a number of different brands, but they're all pretty much the same menu. But they do a great job as well. They have great customer service training. And one of the other ones that does that, though, on the fast food level is Chick-fil-A. Very true. I don't think I've ever been in a Chick-fil-A where the young person or older person behind the counter, or we should say mature person, doesn't have a smile on their face and doesn't genuinely say, "Hey, what can I get you today? How are you?" It's welcome to Chick-fil-A. What can I get you today? I don't think I've ever
They look
seen.
happy to be there.
They do, and I think that makes a big difference. I think it makes a tremendous difference in the guest. Well, on many levels. The guest experience, the employee experience, the employer experience. Because you being in management, what was the biggest frustration for you on a day-to-day basis as far as employees were concerned? I mean, for me, it was turnover. Having to constantly train new employees, it just killed me because I couldn't do my own job.
Right. It was, for me, it was between that and keeping everybody in a positive attitude, because it was a domino effect. If one started to go negative, it seemed to overtake the entire restaurant by the end of it.
You know, and that's true. So there's a great book called, I think it's called, is it Tuesday Morning or Monday Morning Management? It's about this guy who he has a mentor, right? He's running a team, and I think a friend of his father's becomes his mentor. And the team is not doing very well. They're in it's a high pressure, I think a tech company. And one of the things that this gentleman mentors him to is that you are playing to your lowest common denominator. So the minute that you have one person with a bad attitude, one person, and you don't address it, or one person with, and I don't mean to address it in a negative way, just find out what's wrong, see if you can overcome that, or one person that's underperforming on a consistent basis day to day, and you allow that to happen, the rest of the staff will eventually lower themselves to that standard or start to take liberties with their, with their responsibilities. They'll start to underperform, and they'll say, well, if he can do it, why can't I? If she can do it, why can't I? And you're right.
Exactly.
That one bad apple mentality or theory really is true. So what did you do to address that? When you have one person who seems to be struggling or just not enjoying their experience, how did you what did you do to deal with that first and foremost? Was there a process that you went through?
At that point, they didn't really have a training module of how to deal, I'm going to say it this way, the psychological aspect of it. I would just innately go up and, try and, be positive around them to see if it would feed off. And if that didn't help the cause, then once we slowed down, you can pull, said employee aside going, hey, is everything okay? Is there anything that I can do?
That's even recognizing that they may not be feeling well or that there may be something wrong. I've done that before as well. Mm-hmm. So that's a good thing, like going over and just kind of helping out without saying anything, saying, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Even just that mention a lot of times can turn a person's attitude around. That just, again, that act of being a part of their team and being there to assist can be really vital. One of the things that Hyatt Regency did when I worked at the Hyatt Hotel at Gainey Ranch when I first came back from Japan back in 1993, 94, and I was there about a year, a little longer than that. But I started out actually at the front desk, believe it or not. And one of the things that Hyatt did, they had this policy in place called "You make the call." So the employee, regardless of what level, hourly, hourly lead, lower level management or supervisor, then management, so on and so forth. You as the employee were allowed to make any decision regarding guest service that was necessary, that you thought would, if you had a difficult situation, that you thought would cure that, that problem. Now you may, and they would actually publicly, they would stand up for you unless it was blatantly against policy or it was something rude that you did towards a guest. Like you could upgrade someone in a standard room to the presidential suite for the night if you thought it was the correct and appropriate response to whatever had happened. Now you may lose your job in private afterwards for doing that, right? Because you stepped outside the bounds of your limitations of your scope of work. But I thought that was really cool that they empowered you to take action. I thought that was a really, really great thing to help people grow as individuals and also as part of the team, because you had to take into account what are the factors that are going to determine the outcome of this long term for me, but immediately what can I do in the short term to affect the guest's experience? And
how can I turn you into a repeat customer?
No, exactly. And we all know that that's the key to long-term success in the food and beverage and hospitality industry. Repeat guests. So, specific. Can you give me one specific instance? What was the most difficult? Okay, one that actually worked where you turned it around. But was there ever a really difficult guest experience that a situation with a guest that you had to turn around? And it worked out really well for you, or it worked out well for the guest and the company?
I think probably the worst one. I was a junior in high school, so we're gonna go back about probably 14 years at this point.
I was gonna say 4 or 5 years.
I'm not that young, but we had a customer come into Wendy's and ask for, I think, 15 baked potatoes because they were hosting a party and that's what they wanted. Well, with Wendy's, they can only do 6 or 7 at a time, and they would take 2 full hours to cook because they do it at the low and slow mentality.
Makes sense.
And I was the manager at the time, just within earshot of the counter. And the cashier, politely says, "I'm sorry, sir, we only have this many up right now. It'll take X time longer to fill that order. Can I get you something else?" The customer completely had a meltdown. I think called her everything but a good girl on Sunday. To be realistic. So once I started hearing that, it's like, okay, now it's time to go up and be a manager. Deflect over, because that's one of the best things that a manager can do is deflect it over to themselves to get it away from the cashier.
Absolutely.
And I told them, and at that point there was no reasoning with the customer, unfortunately. But we had ended up being able to compromise, at least by the end of the ordeal, to do, I think, like extra fries, salads, just to make up for it. But I don't think I ever saw that customer again, to be honest, by the end of it.
Well, but you probably saved an employee, which is just as important, right? So at that point, you may not be able to salvage the customer, but you did save an employee-manager relationship, and that's just as important. It really is. And a lot of these businesses. So we got about 1 minute left, but one of the things I've noticed is that when you start putting the employees first, right? Because without employees, you don't have a clientele base. You can't run a restaurant without employees. And what I mean first is you don't pick them over the guests, but you put their training and their experience first so they can pass that on to the guest. I think that's really important. It's an oversight a lot of times that we don't talk about in this industry.
Oh, definitely. I completely agree with it.
Well, I have to tell you, for something just off the cuff that we decided to do, it got really deep really fast, but this is a good conversation. I think we talked about a brew house up there that is having some problems, and I'd love to do some case studies, some stuff that's why we think some things are failing or doing well. But let's try again next week. Why don't you make a list of some of the things that you've seen out there, some people that are doing it right, some establishments that are doing it right. We'll talk about a few that are doing it wrong. We don't have to go by name, but I'd love to have back on the show next Thursday if you have time.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir. We'll definitely look forward to that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate your time, Ryan. Ryan Ford, folks. Ryan, thanks for calling in. We'll talk to you next week. Cheers. All right. Hey, we're about to go to another bottom of the hour break here for 2 minutes. That was good. There's so much to talk about in the customer service realm and the hospitality area. We'll get into that just in a minute. All right, so come back on the other side of the hour. I'm hoping Rob Carson is done getting his crown replaced so I can get him on the phone. If not, we'll get him in here tomorrow. Anyway, it's Chef Patrick's Food Biz Pro. Please come right back. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Have you done it? Dating today with all the crazies out there has to be nuts.
Yes, it really would. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a place you could go to find people who think like you do?
Like me, like libertarians and conservatives?
Right?
There is. WeThePeople.dating.
Amazing. What a genius idea. This is a site that you can go to if you're single and you are looking for somebody who you're going to think the same way, as for from a political freedom standpoint. If you want to date the right person for you, you'll find them in one place. WeThePeople.dating.
Take the pain out of ordering your diabetic testing supplies with Diathrive. Diathrive ships the testing supplies you need directly to you when you need them. Best of all, with plans starting as low as $8 a month, Diathrive is probably going to cost you less than what you're paying today. Diathrive is so convinced that you'll love their service, they're offering your first month of supplies free. Simply type the code DOC, D-O-C, at checkout. Diathrive.com. That's D-I-A, thrive.com.
Whatever. Hey, you know what? You know what we're doing, Matt? We're making up for lost time in the first hour. That's what we're doing.
Came in a minute too early.
It's okay. It's all right. You know what?
I'll let Rondo know that.
Yeah, it's hey. If that's the worst thing that happens, we're doing it right. So, thanks again. Hey, we're in the fourth segment here, folks. Bottom of the last hour. It's the ninth inning. Something like that. So if you were listening to the last segment, we had a caller, one of our listeners, Ryan Ford, called in, and we were talking about hospitality versus service. I know you've heard me talk about it before. We've had Jill Raff on before. She's a customer experience engineer, so to speak, and we've had her on several times. We'll have her on in the near future, probably next week or the week after. But I think that's a big thing that people don't think about. Again, I brought up at the end of the last hour that guest experience is really only as good as your employee experience. If you don't provide a great experience for your employee, it's very difficult for them to pass that on to the guest. And you know, that's an issue. That's a real problem. So if you you know, ooh, there I am. Huh. So funny seeing myself live on Facebook. That's the weirdest thing ever. All right, so you know what day it is? Oh, crap, I forgot. It's Taco Tuesday. We got to do some Taco Tuesday recipes. Huh. Taco Tuesday recipes. Yes. Oh, my God, Taco Tuesday. Thank God something is right today. Taco Tuesday. For me, I'm a huge seafood taco person. I really, really love seafood tacos. So when you're talking like blackened seafood tacos, some of my favorites, like blackened shrimp, especially if you do small shrimp, like blackened popcorn shrimp. Awesome stuff. Really good stuff. So my buddy Barry, boy, would I love to give out this secret, but he would kill me and I would never divulge this. But Barry Furiseth, who owns Blue Fresh, it's Blue Fresh Fish Marketplace and Restaurant, right? So Blue, B-L-U, Fresh Fish, yes, Marketplace in Bentonville, Arkansas, Blue Fresh Fish Marketplace. You'd think as a former partner in that business, I would remember the name. Sorry, Barry. Man, they do the best Baja-style battered and fried shrimp and fish tacos. The best I've ever had. Phenomenal. And I'll tell you what, the secret's in the batter. I can't tell you what it is. Don't ask. You can cut off my toenails. Oh, pull out my toenails, cut off my fingers. I can't tell you. It is a secret. It's just the best. So if you're in the Bentonville area, another place to get a very similar product, I believe they're called the Best Fish Tacos in Ensenada? The Best Fish Tacos in Ensenada. It's not actually in Ensenada. Okay, so this is a buddy of ours in LA, actually. Best Fish Taco in Ensenada. Buddy of ours, he has several locations. Let's see. I think he has, so there's one on Hillhurst in LA. He used to have 3 or 4, right? This one's located, this is in Los Feliz. I think that's one of the older ones, but he had several. Now let's look it up. I'm curious now, but I'm telling you what, this Baja style this Baja style, these battered fried fish and shrimp tacos are unbelievable. All right. So Joseph, he's the founder of this company. And if you have the opportunity to go there, all I can say, go. All right. This is in Los Feliz, the Los Feliz area of Los Angeles. Joseph is just, man, I'm telling you what, he built quite a business on this, just with these $2, $3 fish tacos. Unbelievable. And then he's got this great, this salsa bar, right? It's got super finely shredded white cabbage, which if you want to know what the trick is with that, people say, how do you get that really finely shredded white cabbage and red cabbage? Okay, so the key to that is a meat slicer. Yep, a meat slicer put on number 1 or 1.5. So the meat slicer allows you to get these consistent, really thinly shredded sliced shreds of cabbage or lettuce for that matter. But what's cool about that is if you want an interesting, and not just for your fish tacos or whatever, but once you do cut them, the way to store them is in ice water, really, really cold water, right? And then change the water daily if you're storing them in your fridge. Say you're going to have a party a day or two later. You can actually cut them the night before. Those cheap deli slicers you buy at the, I don't know, maybe it's somewhere like Target. I don't know if they have them, but these other restaurant kitchen gadget stores that may have them, department stores. I'm not sure how well they work, but if you can get your hands on, don't put your hands on, but get your hands on the use of a slicer from a restaurant, then I would definitely use it. Again, really thin, like 1 or maybe 0.5, somewhere there between 0.5 and 1.5, and that's the setting on the dial. But then you shave that really thin and you put it in ice water and it lasts for a day or two. But what that gives you is not just a beautiful, crunchy, but delicate and easy to bite through, base for your fish tacos or any other kind of tacos inside the tortilla. You can take those and you can make a beautiful garnish. If you're a chef or restaurateur or caterer, this actually makes for a beautiful garnish for platters. So you take the red and white cabbage and red and green cabbage, whatever you want to call it. But after when you get to your location, if you're a caterer, if you're doing the party in your home, you're just a home cook, you drain it out. You shake the water out. You drain it off very well. You pat it down with a paper towel or your kitchen towel, a clean one, of course. And then you arrange that. You mix them and you arrange them on the platter, and it makes for this beautiful kind of raised, undulating, delicate, bed of garnish for your food. And then you can do some other things. You can take carrots. You can. If you have the knife skills to do this, you can peel around the carrot. You can peel around the carrot into strips, right? I don't know. There may be some peelers that do this already. There are probably some of those, what do they call them? Those spiralizers that make carrot shreds or something like that. You can put those in there. But if you have the ability to do something that's a little different, like you can cut a flat rectangular shape out of it, like a longer rectangular shape, and then cut those. Once you get a perfect rectangle cut out of that, and you want it thin, at least 1/8 of an inch thin, if not thinner. You take that and you cut it lengthwise, corner to corner, so you have these long triangles. Now you take those triangles and you wrap them around a chopstick or something, and you twist it tight, and then you drop it into ice water. It will hold that curl, and so you drop those around the platter, and it gives you now another third dimension. So between that really, really pretty and very finely shredded cabbage on the bottom, and then you have these, your hors d'oeuvres, and then a few of these carrot curls around the plate. It makes for a great base. Really great base. But in the meantime, let's go back to Taco Tuesday, all right? Because I really like blackened tacos. I don't care if it's fajita meat. I don't care. So flank steak or skirt steak. I don't care if it's chicken. I don't care if it's shrimp. I don't care if it's scallops. Oh man, little blackened bay scallops in fish tacos. That's a good one. So the way to make your blackening seasoning is you can go to the store. You can buy Paul Prudhomme's or Emerald's blackening season. Paul Prudhomme Seafood Magic, or actually there's a couple. You have Emerald Seafood Magic or Paul Prudhomme's blackening seasoning, specifically the one for redfish. There's actually, if you could just look online, Paul Prudhomme blackening seasoning recipe. You can get his original recipe. And actually, this is in certain versions of the Joy of Cooking, actually have the original recipe in them as well. So I'm going to give you the recipe. This is by far my favorite recipe. Now, this is kind of a hot version, so if you don't like it really spicy, take out half the cayenne or more. I make this in big batches, but I'll give you the small batch. This makes, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 servings. Oh, six servings is what this says, but probably a little more than that. And this cost, if you buy the ingredients by average online at Walmart, is about 16 cents per portion. All right, so it's 1 tablespoon of sweet paprika. And the reason they say sweet paprika is there's sweet paprika, hot paprika, and smoked paprika. Now, although the smoked paprika would add another level, the hot paprika would add another level of heat. Just use the sweet paprika. You need it. You need it to kind of even everything out here. You don't want too much heat on this because, again, the key with blackening seasoning is not the heat. It's the depth of flavor. Next is 2.5 teaspoons of salt. In this one, I use kosher salt, but what I do with the kosher salt is I break it up in my hand. So I'll take the 2.5 teaspoons of the kosher salt, and I actually rub it between my palms. It doesn't have to be perfectly ground up a little bit, ground up, but I like it a little finer than the coarse kosher salt. 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of cayenne, and this is where you want to cut it back because there's some other thing. There's one more ingredient that's going to add heat to this. 1 teaspoon of cayenne, you can cut that back to 1/2. That'll give you a really good ratio. 1/2 teaspoon cayenne. 3/4 of a teaspoon of white pepper. Now, white pepper, believe it or not, actually adds heat. People ask me, when do you use white pepper? When do you use black pepper? The flavor's pretty close, although you can't get like rough ground white pepper because that's not the way it comes out. It's the, they take everything off the outside. It's just the core ground up really finely. White pepper is traditionally used in food where you would see the black pepper. So if you have a bisque and you don't want chunks of black pepper floating in it or visible in it, then you would use white pepper. If you have a white sauce like a bechamel, a gravy, anything like that where you do not want, again, the black pepper to show up, you would use white pepper. So it's 3/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper. Or mashed potatoes. In restaurants, if you notice, there's no black flecks of pepper in there. It's because we use white pepper in there. Again, the next one is 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme leaves. And for this, I take those thyme leaves and I actually break those up as well, so they're not in big chunks. But if you leave them in chunks, it's okay. And the last one is 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano leaves. If you can find whole leaf Mexican oregano, it's probably my favorite of all the oreganos. There is Greek oregano and what they call Italian oregano. They're all pretty close, but for some reason, this whole leaf stuff from Mexico works. It's 1/2 teaspoon of that. So you just mix all this stuff up, and there you go. You have it. As opposed to like when I make blackened seafood, that's just going to be seared and served, right? It's just blackened and put on a plate as the center of the plate item, whether it's salmon or chicken or anything else, then I would use that, I would use a little more of the seasoning. And what I would do is I would take the fish or the chicken or beef even. I would actually put some melted butter. You brush melted butter on it first while the protein is cold, and then sprinkle heavily, or actually just take the whole protein and dip it into the blackening seasoning. I know I've talked about this before, but I love blackened seafood. But in this case, since you're not working with a large piece of protein, it's typically a couple of small pieces of fish or a couple of medium-sized shrimp or a bunch of small shrimp or scallops, then you don't necessarily want to do that. And so what I would do is I would spray them with whatever pan coating you have. That's an easy one. Or you can drizzle some butter on there and mix them in a bowl and then sprinkle the seasoning over them. Now, I really like to make sure that they get truly blackened. And for things to get truly blackened, you do not want to put any oil on whatever you're searing the food on. The reason being is that oil on that hot surface is going to, it's going to draw the, oh, by the way, I'm going to try to get Rob to call in now if you're listening. I don't know if the phones are still on, Matt. Okay, cool. What's going to happen is if there's oil on the plancha, the flat top, the griddle that we're using in a restaurant, or in the pan that you're going to cook in at home, make a saute pan, then it's going to pull the blackening seasoning off. Okay. Another key is that you put everything down flat. If you're going to do shrimp, you just put them all in one layer and then let them sit. And you don't want it over a super duper high heat, because what happens is the blackening seasoning. Okay, great. Oh, good. Rob is going to call now. Good. Awesome. Rob Carson's calling in. So, Yeah, it's okay. Not quite yet. Anyway, so what happens, you get this nice crust that way. It's got to be over medium heat, and you just let it go. Let it go until that peek underneath every once in a while. See, make sure that crust is forming, and then flip them all at the same time, right? Whether it's 2 pieces of fish, whether it's a bunch of little shrimp or 3 big ones, doesn't matter. All at the same time. And if you're using a larger, really thick shrimp, like a 15, 20 size, or 15, 20, meaning 15 to 20 per pound, anything smaller than that, or larger than that, which would be U8s, U10s, U12s, U15s, 16, 20s, then you can cut them in half, actually. It works better, and you get a thinner product that cooks before you burn the blackening season. Okay, we'll go back to that in a second. We have a caller on the line. Mr. Carson?
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Is this Johnny Carson or Rob Carson?
No, this is not Johnny Carson. All right, let me get to Rob Carson here. One moment, please. Hello, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing, Rob? Man, so we've spent
you know that. You know that's why I use that's my radio name.
Hello. I'm here. Can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I can hear you too. With this, the signal's a little shady. Where are you, in a bunker buried deep inside a? No, I'm just joking.
No, I'm actually in
Oh, I'm losing you. I'm losing you. If you have a headset on, if you could take it off, it works for me better. Unless you're going to get a ticket that way. I don't want you to get a ticket. So,
now, how does it sound? Does it sound a little better now?
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah. So,
1, 2, 3.
So Rob is actually one of our new show hosts. Rob has a great new show that's called Sound Bites, right? And you know what's funny?
Yep.
This is the third show. The third show. I swear to God, the third show that I had mentioned as an idea. I'd come up with several ideas for segments and or show names. One of them was Family Meal, which is our new host. Mark Conway is going to be doing that show. I never mentioned it to anyone except Doc. Yeah. There was another one, and the third one I came up with was Sound Bites, was going to be a weekly segment. And when you came up with the show name, I was like, unbelievable that that another person has channeled something that I only told to Doc, and I think it's fantastic.
You were wearing a wire. And I stole it from you.
Well, I wouldn't put it past Doc that he had me wired and was just broadcasting it everywhere across the world. But
yeah.
So give us.
I put it to my Facebook. I put it to my Facebook followers, and they came up with it. So pretty cool idea. I had a bunch of cooking with Carson. I'm like, oh God, no.
Well, I'm starting to lose you just a little bit again. You're starting to break up a little bit, but. So Rob, I know you've done a couple episodes. You've been dropping them in the Dropbox for me religiously for a while now. We finally got you launched today. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and then what the show is about, because you have a long history in radio as a writer and show host. Yes. So give us a little insight.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm a talk radio host, nationally syndicated comedy writer. I've been writing comedies for some of the biggest names in radio for years and doing satire. Also, cooking video host. I did about 100 cooking videos in D.C., and I started cooking at age 15 at a truck stop, illegally, as a fry cook, and I've been cooking ever since and honing my skills. And I'm kind of maybe a frustrated chef, but I really don't want to be a chef because I think it would take the fun out of cooking from me.
Yes.
Let's see. What else? I'm like I said, I'm a major foodie. I enjoy food.
Hey, Rob, I'm still
when my foodie friends get.
Hey, Rob, I can understand you because I speak several languages and I'm good at deciphering words. But for some reason, you're breaking up a little bit. I'm not sure. Because look, are you on AT&T? Are you on AT&T?
No, I'm on Verizon.
Well, I can't blame Verizon because they're supposed to have the best network. I see. I'm on AT&T, so I can bitch about it because. Anywhere I go, I continuously drop calls and I can't get any good signal. But okay, so go back. You don't want to be a chef because that would take the fun out of cooking. So why do you do it then?
I'm still into talk radio. I do a couple different podcasts now. I've just added my second, which is of course Sound Bites. I do a politics, pop culture, and comedy show on another channel. And this came along, and I was like, "Oh my God, I would love to do a food show." It's another thing that I'm passionate about. And the cool thing is, I always say, we can disagree on politics, but we won't disagree on ribs, unless you're a vegan, and then you have an eating disorder. I probably just made a lot of vegans mad, but
That's okay.
So that's what I say. My politics aside, we can at least agree, I think, on enjoying food and breaking bread together, regardless of our political affiliation.
That's one of the things. I don't know. It's one of the promos in between shows that we have. It's Spoony. We might not be solving not necessarily solving the world's problems, but bringing people to the table, and that's the key. That's where fellowship begins, brothership starts, and we all have one thing in common: we have to eat. Even if we don't eat the same things, we can still sit at the table and eat. So, you've had a long and, look, you're a syndicated comedy writer. You wrote for a really big name in political talk show radio, probably the biggest name for a very long time.
Yes, since I got out of college in 1990, yes.
Okay. And what is your favorite, you don't have to give the whole story, but out of all the fun you've had, a couple of questions. Who is the favorite chef you've ever worked with or that you've ever met? And tell us a little bit about that experience. We'll start with that question.
Oh, I'm trying to think of who. Oh, Wolfgang Puck. I've seen him many times. Met him in Los Angeles when I went out for Oscar coverage because he designs the menu. He designs the signature cocktail of the Oscars. So he's really awesome. Jose Andres. He was actually just at the Oscars. Jose Andres, he actually threw my 40th birthday party for me at he invited me to one of his restaurants, and it was wonderful. I've had a couple of guys. I'm drawing a blank on the guy who's on Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and now he has his own Food Network show, Chopped. But I cooked on stage with him. I'm just drawing a blank on his name right now.
That's Daniel.
No, it's not Daniel.
What's his name? It's really funny.
Called Chop.
Yeah, yeah. He actually friended me on Facebook, believe it or not, which I thought was the weirdest thing ever.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I actually cooked on stage with him, and I cooked on stage with a number of people, and it's always been just really thrilling to be somebody's sous chef.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since I'm not professionally trained. But I've developed my own techniques that if I went to culinary school, somebody'd say, "Well, you're doing it wrong," and I'd say, "Well, I don't care. This is the way I do it." I can
Ted Allen. It's Ted Allen. I'm sorry.
No wasted. Ted Allen, yes. Yeah. But for instance, I've got some techniques that I have originally done, like peeling an avocado in 10 seconds, and I can do it literally. And I've had chefs go, "Holy crap! I never thought of that."
Huh, so wait.
Nice
peeling in 10 seconds, is that taking the pit out and cutting in half as well?
No. You don't cut you have to look up online. Just Google Rob Carson guac of ages. That's my guacamole. It's called guac of ages. And it's available on a website called monkeyc.com. Just look up Rob Carson, and you can see my technique for peeling an avocado in about 10 seconds. And I think, chef, you're going to be like, whoa, that's pretty cool. You don't have to scoop it out. You don't have to, it's pretty cool.
I love
really
it.
Cool, actually.
I love it. Because I can do, well, because I'm a chef, I can do it under 10 seconds. Cut the top off, split it in half, take out the pit, scoop it out. I'm done. That's probably about 5 or 6 seconds. But the average person's going to cut the top of their finger off doing that, if not more. And
yes. Well, what mine is I peel the avocado, and so there's no waste at all. All the avocado stays on the avocado. Nothing is left on the peel.
I love it. So I'm actually going to watch it right now while you're talking. I'm not going to tell anybody though. And so, so what other tricks? What else are you going to talk about? So what are you going to do on your show?
Well, my show, I like to use humor. That's one of my, that's one of the things that I'm good at. And I want to come at it from somebody who's just passionate about cooking, doesn't do it for a living. Somebody who is into the lifestyle movement completely. I'd like to say that I have a degree in HGTV. And I just want to, I'm fascinated. I'm in my early 50s. I'm about Doc's age, by the way. And I just have never stopped saying, wow, and if it's something that comes to like a new, and I'm not afraid to go to Taco Bell when they introduce a new menu item. I think it's fantastic, for instance. And I hope to not only share my discoveries, share food news, share things that I've tried. Like the other day, I made those Takis. They're these rounded tortillas.
My daughter was.
You buy, they're spicy.
My daughter was in love those for a little while. Oh yeah, Takis. Mm-hmm.
Well, the chili with lime. You know what I did? I pulverized them. I pulverized them in my food processor, and I breaded chicken strips with them. Oh my God, was it fantastic?
Well, yeah, I mean, so that sounds really good. Okay, I'm watching your video. I got to give you one advice. All right, I saw how you peeled the avocado. I'm not going to talk about it because I want people to go watch this. Here, yes. I'll give you one tip though. You want an easier way to get the seeds out of the jalapeno? A teaspoon.
Sure.
So you scrape from the tip to the cut end. Yeah, I mean, well, you did it with a knife because you're handy with the knife. I actually pretty good. Dude, I'm impressed. I am, and I've seen a bunch of your videos. I've seen some of the ones Look, dude, you had a bread salad segment. Look, bread salad is about exciting as I don't know, tomato soup. Well, okay, tomato soup is pretty exciting. So actually, the bread salad and the young chef you had on there, she was fantastic, by the way. She did a very good job. But bread salad is like something, it's not something that you would typically think about watching a video about. You had like 17,000 views. Dude, that's incredible.
Oh yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, I've got there's someone with more, and I think that part of it is that I try to bring some humor to it, try to bring some relatability to it. Also, a lot of chefs aren't very good on camera. And so,
that's why I do radio, sir. That's why I do radio.
God, he knows you well.
Yep. Might have a voice for radio, but I've got a face for one as well. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that I can bring the best out of my guests, and also, by the way, I'm going to be talking to food entrepreneurs around the country, just because I think it's great. My guacabages I have trademarked, by the way, and I'm working right now to package it, sell it. I've got another product, a line of pickled products called Carson's Hotties, which are like pickled jalapenos, and my pickled jalapenos are the best you've ever had, chef. I'm telling you, crispy as the day they were picked, and I'm working right now on packaging those as well.
You have told me about those over and over and over again. When the hell are you going to bring someday? You're only in Missouri, dude. I mean, it's the hop, skip, and a jump down here. And what would be really cool is, basically when you have a day off on maybe a Tuesday one day, you come down and do your show live from the studio. It'd be fun.
Oh, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. Yes, that would be, and it will happen.
I know it will. There's no hurry.
The sky is the limit. Yeah, I think the sky is the limit with this concept. It's neat. We've got Food Network. Why not have a channel, a station devoted to food for people who are passionate about watching it on television? Why not explore the oral media and listen to it at work? You don't have to focus completely on the television. Here's
a great thing. You can take it anywhere. It's the go anywhere foodie, fix 24 hours a day. Yeah. That's it. Go anywhere foodie fix.
Yep.
All right, brother. Hey, we got about 30 seconds. Any shout-outs? Any really cool segments? So your show's going to be live. It's going to be new shows launched Tuesday, Thursday, and I'll talk about the schedule here. I'll keep bringing it up. Remind everybody when you're on, and any cool segments we got coming up that you've already recorded. You're going to drop sometime this week.
I'm going to have Meathead Goldwyn, the writer of one of the preeminent best-selling barbecue books in the history of the country, on my next show.
Yeah, he's actually. So I've heard a couple of other interviews with him. He's a really funny guy. You guys go back a long way, and I look forward to hearing more shows. Rob, thank you for being so patient for us to get you to launch. I cannot wait, dude. We're gonna have a lot of fun. That's all I can tell you.
Well, I'm honored to be a part of the team. I can't wait to work with you, my brother.
Hey, and thanks for being flexible. Hey, I'll give you a call after the show. I'll give you just a few minutes. Thanks, brother.
Yep. Bye.
All right, so hey, it's time to wrap up the first official 2-hour broadcast of Chef Patrick's Food Biz Pro show. It's fun. Thanks, guys. A little rough start today, but man, what a strong finish. Rob Carson, thank you. Ryan Ford, thank you for calling in today. Hey, Matt behind the glass, producer Ron for Save My Ass a little while ago at the first half. Man, thanks again. Y'all have a great night. I don't know what's for dinner, but you better enjoy some tacos. It's Taco Tuesday. This is Chef Patrick Mosher signing off. Ciao for now. Remember, you are what you eat.
This is the only 24-hour take-anywhere platform dedicated to food and fun. We're Spoony.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Nuclear Summit number 2 will get underway in the next day. Korea analyst Jenny Kim says the pressure is on President Trump